growing up, my parents were saved. We went to, it was at the time Scott Memorial, eventually Shadow Mountain Community Church with David Jeremiah. Although at the time, I think it was Tim LaHaye was the pastor there.
That's fantastic.
And apparently my mom led me to Christ when I was 3 years old.
Sure.
But I don't remember that moment at all. I have no memory of it. It didn't impact my life.
Sure.
In fact, I remember going to church and finding it boring.
Sure. You're a kid. Of course.
Main church was boring.
Right.
Children's church, we had like a separate children's church thing. That was boring. I don't remember as much about the Sunday school. I remember that being separate from children's church, but it just, everything was boring.
Sure.
And at a certain point, my dad stopped going to church. And I fought with my mom because I didn't want to go. Well, Dad doesn't have to go. Why do I have to go?
Right.
And so around, I'd say probably third or fourth grade, so let's just say third grade, we stopped going. Okay. My mom finally gave up. And I often say that this really highlights the importance of men in the family and their influence. Your children see what you do.
Right.
If you are not prioritizing God, you're not praying, you're not reading the word, you're not going to church, your children will feed off of that.
Sure. That's one thing I've always been grateful about to my parents for, is from basically birth until pretty much the day I left home, we always had an evening devotional, and we always did prayer as a family. It was just mom, dad, and me. And so Dad would usually read, but every once in a while I'd pop in with my squeaky high-pitched voice at the time.
So fast forward about 3-4 years.
Okay, so about 11 or 12?
Yeah, so it's the summer before 7th grade, which is exactly 30 years ago this last summer.
Fantastic.
So 30 years plus 2 or 3 months. It was the summer before going into 7th grade. My brother and I were off at Boy Scout camp. And the last day was a Sunday.
Sure.
And our parents came to pick us up. And I distinctly remember this conversation. They said, guess what we did today? What? What'd you do? We went to church. Good for you. We're going back next week. Have fun. You're going too. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. I'm not going to church. It's boring. Yes, you are. You're going to church. I think it is needless to say, but I went to church the next Sunday.
They exercise that parental authority.
Yeah. What I didn't know was that the junior high ministry, it's made up of 7th and 8th graders and boys and girls. And after the main service, and I remember feeling so nervous. I didn't know anyone. I was afraid it was going to be boring. I just was not looking forward to it at all. I did not want to be isolated and disconnected. I didn't have community. I was going into an unknown. It's like the first day at a brand new school. So I went in and there was a combined service. And then what I didn't realize was they split off into 4 groups. 7th grade girls, 7th grade guys, 8th grade girls, 8th grade guys. And there were like different places that I guess they went, and they didn't clarify that, or I wasn't paying attention. The church we were at had an upper campus and a lower campus. And where my parents were going to be were in the lower campus, and my brother and I were at the upper campus. Okay. And the junior high and the elementary areas were right across from each other. So I was supposed to, after the thing, because I was old enough to remember the campus vaguely.
Sure.
I was supposed to grab my brother, take him to where my parents were, and then we would meet up for the main service.
Right.
Since I didn't realize I was supposed to go with the 7th grade guys, I went over to where my brother was, and I was like, where is he? He's late. What's going on? Now, mind you, my brother is in 4th grade.
Sure.
Going into 4th grade. So he's not very old, but I'm blaming him like he's late. He's like, what's going on? Where is he? Why isn't he out here? Where is everyone?
He's goofing off somewhere.
He's goofing off. I didn't realize I was incredibly early.
Sure.
And as I'm sitting there waiting, the junior high pastor, John Ruhlman, comes out, who he recently passed away. I would have loved to have him on this show.
Sure.
John came out and he's like, hey, I guess he had recognized me inside or
Right.
maybe just recognized I was the right age. He goes,
Sure.
what are you doing out here? And so I'm waiting for my brother. He's late. He's like, no, you were supposed to go with I was like, oh, I didn't realize.
Right.
And they were doing what they called an afterglow that night,
Sure.
where they were playing Capture the Flag in the Upper Campus Chapel parking lot.
Great game.
And it sounded like fun.
Sure.
And I think it was, looking back, it's like the things you don't realize at the time, but now there's wisdom. You're like, okay, God was in that.
Oh.
Because what I didn't like about church before was that it was boring.
Oh, sure.
This was not boring.
Right.
I think I felt neutral about the service itself,
Right.
that main part, but that was exciting
Sure.
and fun.
Sure.
And that was exactly what I needed at the time. I don't remember if this is true, but my memory serves that I went to my mom and she used some reverse psychology. And I said, Mom, I want to go to this thing. And she's like, oh, I don't know. All right, you can go. And I went and I had fun and I got plugged in.
Fantastic.
And I remember it was so funny because I'd go through the Bible and the only verse I remembered was John 3:16. Because
Sure.
I'd been in Awanas when I was younger.
Oh, Awanas is great.
But that was the only verse I was like, I remember this verse
Right.
about God loving the world. And I'm like, I can't figure out. It's like I looked at 1 John, 2 John, and 3 John. It's not in any of those. They're like, no, it's St. John.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Okay. And at some point that summer, so I wish I knew when, but around 30 years ago now, they were doing an outreach. I remember sitting on the floor and they basically did an altar call. They gave an invitation. And I remember thinking and praying, God, I know we're good. You know, not good versus bad, but
Right.
like, hey, we're good with each other, right?
Yes.
There's
The
nothing.
slaying good, yes.
It's slaying good. And I'm like, God, I know we're supposed to be good, but because I remembered my mom telling me I got saved
Sure.
at 3. I'm like, I know we're supposed to be good, but just in case, I'm going to pray this.
Right.
And I prayed that prayer, and my life changed. Thank you for watching this clip from Eternal Impact. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and catch our full episodes every Tuesday on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Or you can check out our website at eternalimpact.show.